Hello, everybody, and welcome to Local Edition. I'm your host, Ben McCain. Our guest is Congressman Ed Roys, representing the 40th District here in California. Always a pleasure having you on the program. Seems like it was just yesterday we were doing interviews for a show called In the Arena in Garden Grove.
Ben, good to see you again.
Yeah,
Happy to be on the show.
You haven't changed. I think you're getting younger.
Well, thank you.
Tell me this. How has life changed since the shooting of Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords?
Well, life has really, I think, changed all over the United States. It's such a tragedy, such a senseless tragedy. And I think for a lot of people also, there is this concern because paranoid schizophrenics commit most of the mass murders here in the United States. And we really need to get treatment to these people. A lot of them don't want to be treated, but there are ways for families to intercede, and at least if you get a 72-hour hold, for example, here in California on a family member who has that problem, you might be able to get them the help. More importantly, that information goes into the FBI database, and that individual now, as a result, if they are found to have that kind of schizophrenia, they cannot buy a gun. They cannot purchase a firearm. And I would suggest we need to give a lot of thought because of the number of instances in which people with this particular malady, this particular disease of paranoid schizophrenia commit mass murders. We need to have that addressed.
You didn't come in with with several bodyguards, but
no, we don't have.
You're not going to do that. But
no.
For the future, how is that when you do have town hall meetings or you do have gatherings with large crowds? How are you going to handle that?
It's such a rare event. Remember, it's been 30 years since a member of Congress was killed. And so
that was Leo Ryan, I think,
and
that was on foreign soil in Guyana.
Long time ago.
Jonestown.
So it is very rare. And I think because of our tradition of town meetings here in the United States, which goes back to the founding of the country, even before, we need to continue to do that. My women's conference is coming up. I have several town meetings in addition coming up. I don't intend to change anything in terms of the way I do those. So it is rare, but nevertheless, whether it's in public life or it's in private or in the workforce, what I was sharing with you earlier is we do have a problem with people who are paranoid schizophrenics who do commit violence. And it needs to be addressed. We need to find a better way of coping with it as a society, and I think there's going to be a lot of dialogue about that.
Shifting gears,
Yes.
Continues to make news about our soaring debt here in California. I've heard $25 billion to $29 billion. Other states are looking at us and saying, guys, you're going to have to fix this. We as a federal government don't want to come in and rescue you. What's going to happen, Congressman?
Well, it isn't going to be a rescue from D.C. because the Treasury Department and the Federal Reserve Chairman, Ben Bernanke, have already ruled out doing that. So it has to be addressed here in D.C., here in California, just as in D.C. we have to address the growing budget deficit there. And we're going to have to do it by cutting spending. And I'll give you an example of what the Chairman of the Federal Reserve said about deficits, both state and federal. He said, they're not sustainable. You look out into the future, and for our economy, for our republic, for our currency, they're not sustainable. Why? Because eventually the credit rating agencies will look at this debt in California, and they'll look at the national debt. And first they'll move on California. And the consequence of downgrading our credit rating here in the United States is going to be, in California, going to be horrific in terms of the costs on the budget here, just as it would be federally.
Congressman Ed Royce, thank you very much for joining us. I'm your host, Ben McCain.